It's been a minute since I posted anything about Shadow Man, and this is something I originally drafted up a few months ago, but ended up scrapping for personal reasons. That being said, it's time to bring to light a secret that had taken 2.5 years to finally uncover, dubbed the Developer's Secret. Throughout the journey, programmer Behemoth had posted lines in the style of the Shadow Man game, hinting at the fact that there is a final hidden secret waiting to be uncovered by players. His first passage reads, "I now have come so far, my sensibilities lie benumbed by all I see. Confusion reigns, and yet I am on the edge of knowing. What ineffable secrets are whispered within the endless darkness of death's dominion? What intertwined realities lie deep within this morbid maze of mystery? And there is more within, and within, the journey continues. The horror, I embrace it." While it just looks like he had taken lines straight from the game with slight tweaks, they still point in the direction of using the horror difficulty. And what exactly is this? Let's just say you only have one shot and one opportunity. Well, not really, but you only get one life is what I'm getting at. He originally sent that passage in May of 2021. Fast forward to June of 2023, and he practically just tells us what to do. Start by playing on the horror difficulty. Don't die once. Collect all the Dark Souls. Collect a full life force, which can only be found inside a Deadsider. Collect all the gifts that only the lower require, and only after you've had a drink may you offer them. Embrace the horror, and wait and see if the lower have accepted your offering. Now, what is a full life force? We know a life force is the chunk of health you pick up for almost any enemy in the game, at least in terms of normal difficulty. But a full life force works a little differently. You see, when we're talking about Deadsiders, they drop 80% of the total health they've sucked from Shadow Man. So an example is, say, a Deadsider sucks up 2 bars of your health, equivalent of 20% if we're talking about a full health gauge. Once you defeat them with your Shadow Gun, they drop 80% of what they took. So in this instance, it would end up being 80% of 20, which is 16. Now, we'll be dealing with stock gauge, so 5 bars of health. Let's say it's 50 HP. To receive a full life force, the Deadsider needs to have consumed a total of 125 HP. Now where did I get this from? Behemoth stated that the life force would need to restore all 10 bars of health equivalent of 100 HP. So if we know this, and also that it would have to be 80% of total absorption, we can determine that 100 HP is 80% of 125 HP. Now, how many times do we need to be victimized? A Deadsider will take a full bar of health, so 10 HP each time. We just need to divide 125 by 10 to receive 12.5. Obviously you can't be hit half a time, so we will have to round up that number to 13. So you need to have your blood drained 13 times by the same Deadsider before killing it with your Shadow Gun. As a side note, this can be done later on, but I found it was better to simply get it out of the way. Anyway, with the unnecessary math lesson over, to summarize what needs to be done. Play on the horror. Don't die once. Now you can save abuse, just as long as you make sure you quickly load back in after the death animation starts, or you know you're going to die. Collect all 120 Dark Souls. Collect 500 or more Kato, and don't offer any to the lower. Get hit 13 or more times by a Deadsider, and kill it with your Shadow Gun, and collect the life force that drops. Beat the game, and wait until the end of the credits to see a particular message. Once players got their message, it was time for Behemoth to address the final steps towards the Developer's Secret. This is where the Shadow Man community really came together. I will address these one by one. Now why don't you embrace that big old horror one more time, and with all your stuff from before, and make your way down Deadside. Step forth beyond the bone-backed gates where the Duppies point the way to the forgotten sacred shrine of the Sanguinary Sisters. And if you follow in his footsteps, you've gone too far, man. We need to re-enter the horror, but with all our stuff. This is where New Game Plus comes into play. When you complete the horror, you will see a code of sorts. You enter this on the title screen, and it corresponds with your controls. DDUURLRLWI. Down, down, up, up, right, left, weapon wheel, inventory. Make sure you know which button is which for your weapon wheel and inventory, as those will be what you press at the end in sequence with the rest. Once you start New Game Plus, you need to pass the Marrow Gates and make your way to a hut with 2 shrines of some sort. This is where the secret will be executed. And if that Deadsider isn't already on the guest list, now's the time to bring him along too, otherwise there's nothing to do. This refers to the full Life Force Deadsider. If you've already done this during the horror, no need to do so again, but if not, you know what to do. From here, it's the only situation where you need the numbers. It's all about the numbers, man. But you can't go into space on numbers. You can't like fly on a 2, cruise on a 1. It's an abstract concept. It's like semantic numeracy, man. Fly on a 2, cruise on a 1. What happens when you put the 2 numbers next to each other? You get 21. We will need this number, so please keep note of it. And that big old black tail will guide you towards the dance party, just like that North Star down way. This refers to the asylum, and it's the North Star, meaning our north point. Again, note this. But you might need to go beyond space, beyond reality, man, and take your place among the angels. Because the clock's ticking on your daddy's old watch, and it's screaming towards mummy's wild dark heart. His daddy's old watch refers to the pocket watch used in Shadow Man's Second Coming. And if we have a look at this, we can see it's not a typical 12-hour watch, but rather a 24-hour watch, and it's analog? We will absolutely need this, and it'll all make sense. Now your number's coming up. I mean, if you like stood near the wall on the end of the hand, would you know? Would you know you'd be in a wide-paneled tube speeding through a void, man? Yo, not quite yet, my man. End of the hand, numbers coming up. Let's go back to our notes for a moment. We had the number 21. That's our number. And if we were to convert 21 to time, it becomes 9 PM. And if we look at the pocket watch, we can see that 9 PM is pointing towards where Luke's bear would be in the sequel. This would have to mean that if we find the right wall and use our bear, we get to see something, right? And which wall is it? Well, let's use the asylum as our North Star and treat it as our 12 PM position. Referring to our pocket watch, we see that this beam would be our 21st hour. We want the wall at the end of the hand. Not until Mama's Voodoo Mambo sends you straight to the end of the world sock hop, and then you'll have the best seat in the house, I'll see to that. Mama... Nettie? We have to try and speak with Nettie. Let's use Luke's bear at the wall, go to Louisiana, and we're here... Wait, the Wild at Heart? Woo! Now you're in Major Tom territory and ground control's no longer there. Let's rock and roll. This is it. This is where we find the developer's secret. Now, what do we need to do from here? Turn yourself around and peek over the corner. There's a scary looking arcade machine. Let's play it. Oh, it's Pong? This should be easy, right? Not really. There are multiple stages of this version of Pong that have to be beaten. Each stage gets progressively more difficult naturally. Once they're all finished, go ahead and open your inventory. You'll notice a fresh new weapon, and that's the developer's secret. While you're here, you can have a little wander around the stage and look over the signage and signatures left by the developers here. I want to give a massive shout out to the Shadow Man community for coming together to find a well-hidden secret that took 2.5 years to finally achieve. We had a little fun at helping each other out with our own version of hints. You see, Behemoth used hints in the style of Marco Cruz, so it was only fitting for the first 6 achievers to put their own spin on them, taking on roles of the rest of the 5, Nettie and Jaunty, myself included. The journey was so much fun, and one that I can say I'll never forget. For we are many.